Let's take a look at how the Retroid Pocket 3 Plus compares to the AYN Odin Pro for PlayStation 2 emulation. And I'm telling you now, things are not quite as you would think they would be. Now, both of these systems are running exactly the same version of Ether SX2 with the exact same settings. And straight off, we're looking at Blitz the League. And we can see here that the AYN Odin Pro is running things smoother at about an extra 10 frames per second. But it's not a huge improvement over the Retroid Pocket 3 Plus, which means the Retroid Pocket 3 Plus has taken a step up from the Retroid Pocket 3 to bring it a lot closer to the AYN Odin. Now, the AYN Odin Pro is running on performance mode as well, so we're not limiting things at all. And honestly, with this first test, I was really surprised to see that at some points the frames per second were pretty much on par. Definitely the AYN Odin Pro has the upper hand, but not to what I would expect. Next up, we're looking at Kinetica, and we have a similar situation of the AYN Odin Pro running at about 10 frames per second faster. It definitely does make the game a lot smoother and playable for a very fast-paced racing game, but it's not necessarily the type of jump you would expect for the extra price of an AYN Odin Pro. Now, you will notice that the screen on the Retroid Pocket 3 Plus is a bit dimmer. That's just the screen brightness setting that I had it as. The screens on both of these are both gorgeous and perfect to play your retro games with. Next up, we can see shocks from EA and a similar scenario of around about 10 frames per second faster on the AYN Odin Pro. Now, I do want to say, don't get comfortable with this because things are going to change in a bit. It's not going to be what you expect. But currently, the AYN Odin Pro is running faster than the Retroid Pocket 3 Plus, as we would think it would. The AYN Odin Pro is a more powerful and more expensive system. But the question we're asking is it worth the difference of the Retroid Pocket 3 Plus? Looking at Toka Race Driver, and this is one of the most significant differences between the two systems. Toka Race Driver is a really difficult game to emulate on these systems, and the Retroid Pocket 3 Plus, it is what I would call unplayable. And on the Odin Pro, I think you could get a decent game out of it, especially when it starts getting into its stride and hitting around about 40 and sometimes 50 frames per second. It's not a bad experience. This is where I would say the AYN Odin Pro shines the best. But in a complete shock to me, Time Splitters 2 on the AYN Odin Pro is running easily 10 to 15 frames per second slower than the Retroid Pocket 3 Plus. This absolutely blew my mind, and I was so surprised to see that we would have any games running faster on the Retroid Pocket 3 Plus. Let me remind you, these systems are running both Ether SX2 on exactly the same settings, GPU renderers, same resolutions, everything. And for the Retroid Pocket 3 Plus to make such a significant difference, for Time Splitters 2 to be so playable on this, whereas on the AYN Odin Pro it's pretty much unplayable, really starts to beg the question. Is the AYN Odin Pro even worth it anymore? Is it irrelevant now that we have these much cheaper systems that are getting very, very close? That's for you to decide, and I hope this information helps, but we also need to look at the GameCube emulation as well.